So let me go ahead and spit some game at y'all. Let me go ahead and put y'all onto some game. So me personally, I'm not afraid to tell y'all that I got kicked out of the U.S. Army. I'm not afraid to tell y'all that I got kicked out of the military. Why? Because people got the wrong definition of what it means to get kicked out of the military. You know, just because you get kicked out of the military, that don't mean necessarily that it was technically a bad thing. Just because you get kicked out of the military, that don't mean necessarily that it was a dishonorable discharge, because there's different discharges for everything. Everybody's situation is different, and everybody's situation is case by case. So me personally, I got kicked out of the U.S. Army because I failed AIT, and I had 3 back-to-back hospitalizations. What does that mean? I would get admitted into the hospital for mental health. I would get discharged out. Then I would get sent right back to the hospital again. So they ended up giving me a uncharacterized discharge, which was my discharge finalization on my DD-214. What is an uncharacterized discharge? An uncharacterized discharge is not honorable, but it's not dishonorable either. It's not a bad discharge, but it's not a good discharge either. So it's kind of in the middle. So the point I'm trying to make with this all being said is, I did not leave the military because I dishonored my country. I did not leave the military because I got a dishonorable discharge. I left the military under an uncharacterized situation. So I just want to put that out there. I could show you my D214. It actually says, too, that I can go back into the military if I chose to do so at that specific time that I left. So now, since we got that all out there, what am I doing now? I'm actually applying for a VA disability because I believe my situation was service connected, and I believe it was service connected because you have to ask yourself, why does it happen that I continue to have back-to-back hospitalizations after I left the military? During and after I left, because when I was in the military, I had 3 hospitalizations, and when I left, I had another 2. Because I got hospitalized at Tri-Cities 3 times in a row, then another 2 times when I left the military. So you have to ask yourself, how and why does it happen to start when I was in the military? Because before I joined the military, I didn't have no hospitalizations at all. So you got to ask yourself, why does it happen, or why does it happen to start when I was in AIT at that specific time frame? So that's my situation. So with this all being said, I'm coming home to say this. Just because you get kicked out of the military, that don't mean it's a bad thing. People got the wrong definition of what it means to get kicked out of the military, and never feel guilty that people are never feel guilty that just because you left the military that was a bad thing, because it's not necessarily a bad